The Galactic Council's decision had been swift and unanimous. Humans were banned from participating in the grand arena competitions, effective immediately. "Their methods are unsporting," declared Councillor Zeth-Ka, his 4 eyes blinking in sequence as he addressed the assembly. "They show no regard for established protocols. They adapt too quickly. They turn everything into a spectacle." The other council members nodded their various appendages in agreement. The Velthari representative, a crystalline being whose thoughts moved at the speed of light, pulsed with approval. The massive Krogan delegate rumbled his consent, his stone-like hide shifting in what passed for emotion among his species. What they didn't say, but what everyone knew, was that humans had been winning too much. In just 50 years since joining the galactic community, human competitors had dominated nearly every category of arena combat. Not through superior technology or natural advantages, the other species had those in abundance, but through something far more unsettling to the established order: pure, relentless innovation. Where other species perfected techniques over millennia, humans threw out the rulebook every season. Where others honored tradition, humans honored victory. They studied their opponents not with respect, but with predatory fascination, identifying weaknesses that had never been considered weaknesses before. The news reached Earth 3 days later, transmitted through the quantum relay network that connected the civilized worlds. The reaction was predictable. "Banned?" Captain Sarah. Chen laughed as she reviewed the official decree from her command center on Luna Station. Around her, the newly constructed facility buzzed with activity. Construction crews putting finishing touches on what was being called humanity's greatest engineering project since the terraforming of Mars. "They banned us from their little playground," she continued, addressing her team of engineers, former arena champions, and what the galaxy would soon learn to call promoters. "So we built our own. Question is, who's going to want to come play with us?" The answer, as it turned out, was everyone. The Human Combat League, officially designated as an independent sporting organization to avoid council regulations, opened its doors 6 months later. The inaugural tournament took place in the Titan Coliseum, a massive structure that dwarfed the council's grand arena in both scale and ambition. Where the grand arena was built for efficiency and fairness, the Titan Coliseum was built for spectacle. Holographic displays that could be seen from orbit, gravity wells that shifted mid-combat, environmental hazards that changed based on real-time audience voting, sound systems that could be heard across star systems. The humans hadn't just built an arena, they'd built an experience. The first competitors to arrive weren't the established arena champions. Those were bound by council contracts and regulations. Instead, they came from the fringes of galactic society, young fighters looking to make names for themselves, veterans seeking one last shot at glory, and rebels who had grown tired of the grand arena's restrictive rules. Crix 9, a Velthari warrior whose crystalline structure had been deemed too experimental for traditional competition, was among the first to register. His bioluminescent fighting style, which incorporated frequency modulation as both weapon and art form, had been rejected by arena purists for being too flashy. In the Human Combat League, flashy was the point. The tournament format itself was revolutionary. Instead of single elimination brackets that could end a fighter's career with one bad day, humans introduced a league system. Fighters accumulated points across multiple combat types, from individual duels to massive team battles that resembled more warfare than sport. More importantly, they introduced storylines. Each fighter wasn't just a competitor, they were a character in an ongoing narrative that spanned seasons. Rivalries were cultivated, redemption arcs were crafted, and dramatic moments were amplified through production values that made other galactic entertainment look primitive by comparison. The breakthrough moment came during the 3rd week of competition. Thane Corvus, a Krogan heavyweight who had been perpetually ranked 2nd in Council Arena standings, faced off against a human opponent in the Coliseum's signature Maelstrom match, a battle that took place across multiple shifting platforms while the arena itself rotated. The fight lasted 17 minutes and changed everything. Corvus, fighting with traditional Krogan techniques that emphasized overwhelming force and endurance, found himself matched against Marcus Torres, a former amateur boxer from Earth's South American territories who had never ranked higher than regional level in any organized sport. What Torres lacked in formal training, he made up for in adaptability. As the arena shifted around them, he used the changing environment not as an obstacle but as a weapon. When Corvus charged across a narrow bridge, Torres collapsed it. When the Krogan tried to corner him on a stable platform, Torres lured him into a gravity well and used the enhanced G-forces to multiply the impact of his strikes. The audience, both live and across the quantum streams that carried the broadcast to hundreds of worlds, watched in fascination as the underdog human systematically dismantled a fighter who had seemed invincible in traditional arena settings. But the real revolution wasn't Torres's victory. It was what happened after. Instead of a simple acknowledgement of victory, the human promoters had prepared something the galaxy had never seen. A post-fight interview conducted while both fighters were still in the arena, blood and sweat mixing with the artificial atmosphere, hearts still racing from combat. "How does it feel to defeat a former Grand Arena finalist?" the interviewer asked Torres. "Like I just got started," Torres replied, his chest heaving as medical drones attended to his injuries. "See, in the council arena, this would be over. One fight, one winner, one loser. Here, this is just chapter 1. Corvus and I were going to do this again and again, until one of us can't get back up." The camera panned to Corvus, who was receiving treatment for a shattered shoulder plate. Instead of the shame that typically accompanied defeat in traditional competition, the Krogan's eyes burned with something else entirely: anticipation. "He is correct," Corvus rumbled, his voice carrying across the arena's sound system. "This human has shown me new ways to fight. I will adapt, I will return, and next time—" He paused, looking directly into the camera. "Next time will be different." The broadcast ended with both fighters shaking hands, another human custom that was rapidly spreading throughout the league, and the promise that their rematch would headline the following month's event. Within hours, underground betting networks that had ignored human sports for decades were offering odds on the rematch. Bootleg recordings of the fight spread across the black market data streams that connected the galaxy's outer rim territories. Most significantly, established Grand Arena competitors began quietly inquiring about their contract obligations. The Council's response was predictable and futile. They banned the broadcast of Human Combat League events on official networks. They prohibited Council-affiliated fighters from participating. They even attempted to invoke trade sanctions against human colonies. What they couldn't do was stop beings across the galaxy from wanting to watch. Within a year, the Human Combat League's viewership exceeded the Grand Arenas by a factor of 10. Independent operators began constructing smaller arenas throughout human space, each one featuring innovations that pushed the boundaries of what combat sports could be. The revolution wasn't just about fighting, it was about storytelling, about turning athletes into heroes and villains, about creating emotional investment that transcended species barriers. Most importantly, it was about giving everyone, not just the genetically gifted or technologically advanced, a chance to be extraordinary. The final insult to the Council's authority came when 3 of their former Grand Champions violated their contracts to join the Human Combat League. Their explanation was simple. They hadn't come to space to be safe. They had come to be remembered. As Councillor Zethka watched the latest broadcast from his official chambers, all 4 of his eyes focused on the spectacle unfolding on his screens, he realized that humanity's greatest weapon had never been their adaptability or their innovation. It had been their understanding that in a universe full of wonders, the greatest wonder of all was a story worth telling. The humans had been banned from the arena, so they had built a stage for the entire galaxy, and everyone, it seemed, wanted to perform.